Okay, so thank you everyone for coming in for this first all hands meeting for ProgCode. So all hands meeting, that's wonderful. Okay, so we're starting now. All hands meeting. This is just for us to keep updated with each other. We're going to share with you all the projects that are currently ongoing, and by the end of this call, we want you to be empowered and excited about the projects that we have ongoing, and may inspire you to start your own projects. So, two things before we start. Why are we doing this in the first place? So, Progressive Coders Network started with the idea that coders or tech volunteers has this huge impact for the progressive movement. We saw it with the Bernie Sanders campaign. We saw it with how voteforbernie.org was able to engage 3 million people into learning more about voting. We saw that with feeltheburn.org, which was able to engage 10 million to learn about the issues, and with the map.berniesanders.com, that was able to engage with millions of volunteers and send them to 70,000 events all across the United States. So we want to take that. Momentum and bring it to the other progressive down ballots, and that's what we're exactly going to talk about today. Just a background about myself: I started this organization to help out new people to come into the political revolution, so to speak, and just to be an enabler and a connector with all the projects, all the coders to different organizations. And by the end of this call, we want to have this sense of community, and that you will be able to use Progressive Coders Network as a means to help you jumpstart your own projects, to jumpstart your own initiatives, to help progressive candidates, to help progressive campaigns in just reducing their cost or eliminating the need to look for big money donations, and just reach out to the public at large. So so without further ado, let's start with the all hands meeting. I'm going to pass it over to Josh for his first presentation.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Let me get started sharing my screen with you here. And Rapi, all good there? We good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start tonight talking about movement. So I'm also going to specifically talk about influence in politics. This chart shows the probability of policy changes based on voter preferences. For economic elites, preference and policy is roughly in sync. For the rest of us, a flat line. Why? Well, the cost to win a congressional campaign today averages around $2 million. How do we bring that cost down? Elections are won by spreading ideas. Ideas may be free, but the data that helps a campaign spread them is not. If we wanted to find a root cause, state voter files might be a good start. A 50-state snapshot taken once a month, on your own, would cost this much. Sure, there are vendors who aggregate it, but what if they don't give you access or you can't even afford their fees? Good luck knocking on doors and spreading your big ideas then. When the very data of our democracy is not a public resource, money and influence can mix much more easily. But if a campaign costs little to start and run, then the power of campaigns can come from people. And we need more people. So much focus goes to one person in the White House or 535 people in Congress. But there are 500,000 elected officials in the United States. We need a better way to elect these representatives, influence their policymaking once in office, and then inform the electorate so we elect the right people next time. We're starting with a canvassing app to help campaigns scale by the size of their ideas, not their budget. In part, this means freeing the data. We're building a national voter file as part of that solution. But we're also building a platform on top of that, one that upends the traditional infrastructure. When you knock on someone's door, you're not just there to talk about your candidate. Your goal is to amplify their voice. Movement lets you canvass for as many campaigns as you want at the same time. Let's say I talk to Molly and it comes up that she cares about clean energy. I can share that with my presidential candidate, my congressional candidate, and even my city council candidate. Those candidates can have a complete map of their constituency and what they care about, and they can even coordinate. The same goes for political organizations and nonprofits. We want your help to build movement so we can free the data and power free campaigns. We're going to post some details in the ProgCode Slack about the help we could use, so just look for that information there, and Rapi will send it out later. And to help build some of these tools, I'm going to talk about codecore.org next. Like many people here tonight, last year I wondered how I could best serve the Bernie Sanders campaign. My first stop was his website. But volunteering my tech skills specifically was hard. Now, there's something special about the scale of software. I could knock on doors, but I wanted software's impact. Enter Coders for Sanders. As many of you know, organizing these projects was challenging. Slack and Google Docs just don't scale well. As a contributor, it was hard to dive in. Which projects are worthwhile? How do I get started? How should I make time? How do we fix this for the projects we're about to build together? What tools can best bring us together? Now, we need to build and fund these projects, maintain and sustain them. This means coordinating time, ability, and money. We need people who can contribute by opening up their schedule or their wallet or both. What we're missing is that point of coordination, that place that makes things possible. It's what we made work in Coders for Sanders with Slack and GitHub and Google Docs and a lot of lost wages. For progressive coders, I'd love CodeCore to be that organizing hub. If GitHub is social coding, then CodeCore is like social good coding. We're layering tools on top of the way we already build software, but focusing them on how to build public software specifically. Here's how it'll work. First, you tell us what you care about. Do you want to fix local government, improve literacy, work on ProgCode projects? Then you tell us some of your specific skills. Maybe you want to work on an Ember.js project like CodeCore. We'll use your interests and skills to recommend projects. From here, we can continually direct you to discrete tasks that you can pick up and work on immediately. We're really trying to answer the question, what can I work on in, say, 2 hours tonight that makes a difference? We're also building a crowdfunding platform so that same small dollar contribution that powered the Bernie campaign can support your core team and your operations. And we can really use any skill you've got. So again, come check us out on the ProgCode Slack or see us in GitHub. Thanks. I'll be followed by Vibhor Kumar.
Right now it's called How to Vote resource, but in general we want to sort of change the way that being a voter is seen. And the simple goal is to keep voters, especially young progressive voters, voters for life. So there's three main problems that, main reasons why young voters especially don't vote. Number one is that they feel uninformed about elections in general. Number two is that they feel that their vote is marginalized. So, you know, their votes, they feel like their votes don't matter. Number three is that voters can be too busy to look into registering to vote, actually voting, and then learning about the issues. Can you guys still hear me? Okay. So to address those concerns, like there's a number of solutions that we can go through. It's going to involve, you know, both technical and marketing skills to get to the final product. So if that, you know, as an example of some technical solutions, one obvious one is we can provide reminders for voter registration deadlines and election days. You know, going further, we can keep voters engaged, make sure they know about the issues. So providing updates about relevant issues, and the ideal would be to provide them basically an individualized set of resources based on what their ballot is for that individual district. Ideally, we could do this in every district in the country, and that's going to require a lot of scraping and grunt work. So, but there's room for collaboration amongst other projects going on. Another thing is that, especially in this election, some people felt like that there was both real and perceived election fraud, and so to prevent that from happening, one thing that you can do is confirm voter registration status by taking voters' info, cross-referencing the local or state databases, and saving a copy of it so that if there is a change made, you sort of have a record made. And hopefully that will reduce election fraud or even the perception of it. And of course, the other side is the marketing. Voters are more likely to vote again, stay voters for life. It's the ultimate goal. If they actually identify as being a voter, rather than just voting. There's a nuance there that I think we can tap into. We want to make people feel like they're voters, and we want to make them feel that they're proud of being a voter. So right now in the Slack channel, we're how to vote resource. So if you want to hear more about this, we need people from basically every aspect. We're going to need a lot of tech, but a lot of people who are also willing to look into local issues and make a database of that. Right now, actually, Jon Hughes, who is voteforbernie.org, is working on doing that, and his efforts are going to be pretty big here. So yeah, how to vote resource channel in the progressive voters. My name is Vibhor, and my username is Vizbo, VWZBO.
Hi gang, my name is Jon Culver. I'm a Bernie 2016 alum. I'm a web developer, and I'm out of Seattle. I've built a thing called Progressive Events. It's at progressiveevents.org. You guys can check that out or listen to me as your attention sees fit. We think of progressiveevents.org as sort of a spiritual successor of the events map from berniesanders.com, which Rapi and I worked on in different capacities. Our goal is to surface recurring events, civic events, local city things, advocacy groups, campaigns, even party organizations, like when your county or your LD's organization gets together every month. We want lots of people at those things. We want to unify some of the calendaring software that's out there. Right now, organizations have to sort of set up their own, and we want to hopefully bring all of that data and these different sources all together in one place so people can know where to go. And we want to encourage progressives to show up. A lot of decisions get made at these things, and we want to be there and take an active part in helping shape that future, which we're really excited about. The stack is Django. If you've seen any of my projects, you know I'm a big fan of Django Python. It uses PostgreSQL and PostGIS and GeoDjango. It uses Bootstrap and Leaflet, a mapping thing, which is really awesome. Also used by the Bernie Sanders events map. Things that are on our roadmap. We want to have embeddable maps for different organizations. So if you've got a candidate and you don't have like a CMS for adding your own events, we want you to be able to embed those events specific to your organization or your candidate or what have you, so that visitors to your site can see all that good stuff. We want to add RSVPs. We want to make it very social. We want people to share where they're going. We want that to be part of this thing, is just socializing where everybody's going and what all's happening. And we want to bring in more data sources. Right now we're starting to scrape events from Facebook and Meetup and I think Action Network and a few others, but we want to start to bring in more of that good stuff because that will have good outcomes. How to contribute. We've got a Slack channel set up, Progressive Events. We're up on GitHub. I think it's on me right now, but I'll put a link in our chat. And yeah, we want people who can sling code. We want Python folks. We want front-end folks. We want organizers who can help us think about how to scale this sort of software solution into something that's more people-friendly in other cities. We've got a big footprint here in Seattle because that's where I'm based out of, and I've been adding a bunch of stuff that I want to go to. But we want to have advocates in other cities helping push events and getting people out to those things. We want ideas. It's a very new thing. It's something roughly an MVP at this point, but we want to do it really big, and we have a lot of really exciting ideas about where to go from here. And we hope it can be a big part of the revolution as that conversation continues to unfold. So that's me, again, Jon Culver, progressiveevents.org. And with that, I will hand it off to Meghan Dunn.
Can you hear me? Great. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Meghan. I do not have a coding background, which will be evidenced by the fact that my MVP is a Google Doc at this point. And I could really use help trying to figure out how to progress the thing that I'm working on. To give you some quick background about me, I come from a communication rhetoric background, did a couple graduate degrees in that before realizing my home is more in the disaster relief sector, where I worked with like Occupy Sandy, Occupy Wall Street, Boulder flood relief, that sort of thing. So this directory will kind of get at what I'm trying to do. Let me see if I can share. Is my screen showing up on your screens yet? No. Oops. Okay. Seeing anything yet? Is there anything that's showing up?
We see Jon.
Okay. Okay, so this isn't working. So let me just try to describe what I am trying to do. Technology. Okay, so right now, its primary purpose is to create an open source directory of progressive organizations, campaigns, and projects in order to first make those transparent to other progressive organizations and entities within that same space, and then to be able to map those things geographically, and then also along issue areas, so whether it's money out of politics or student debt or environmental justice, racial justice, those kinds of things, to be able to map those, and then potentially down the future along other identified areas or lines of correspondence to be determined later. And then another function of it would be to match the needs of these emergent and or progressive organizations with the resources and skills of coders and also other people that want to interface with these projects. The need for something like this, I think, as a lot of us saw in recent social movements, there is an issue with people being able to plug into the movement, not being able to figure out how to interface with the projects and the tasks and the campaigns that were coming out of these movements. And so to be able to connect them better along their lines of interest or affinity or geographic proximity, that would be kind of a first step. Let me see. Right, and then secondly, while some degree of redundancy is necessary and normal for resilient systems, being able to making sure that we're not risking over dedicating limited resources by duplicating efforts by other parties that are in that space, where we could instead connect people who are working on the same things. I think a lot of people don't know where all these emergent campaigns and issues and projects are coming out of and from where, and to be able to map that and actually see that would be really, really helpful. Really wish that I could change, that you could see what I see. Let me try one thing. Still no screen share? Okay. This is such a sad day. Okay. Well, you can click on, I opened up the link so you can see more of a description of what this project is about and what it's trying to do. Eventually, I think that it would be able to connect the people and the projects within the progressive sphere to projects that are in the humanitarian disaster response sphere. There's a lot of overlap between the things that we're working on, and then also from the academic sector, coming from a communication background again, I know that there's a lot of research on progressive campaigns, movements, organizations, projects, concepts, and to be able to bring academics into the real world would be, I think, a wonderful thing to do, because they want to do it, but the old vanguard right now is not quite sure how that would work. And so I think that would be really helpful to have organizations too that can bring in researchers who want to talk about and make visible the efforts of progressive projects to another kind of community. Let's see. Oh, super quickly, what this would actually look like. Right, so having your basic, the basic things that you would find in any kind of directory, so name of the organization, a brief bit description of who they are, what they do, physical address, phone number, website, email, Twitter handle, hashtags used, that's another project, but Facebook, YouTube, Slack channel, whatever, all the communication channels, but then going kind of a step further, and maybe you want to be able to search for a progressive organization that's a B Corp, or maybe it's a startup, or maybe it's a established NGO or 501c3, and maybe it was formed 2 days ago, or 5 years ago, or 20 years ago, because you want to sort of cull the expertise of people that have been in that sector for a while, or maybe they emerged within the range of some sort of a event or disaster that happened. You can search it by sector, by field, by the public or segment that you're serving. So maybe you want to find a tech-oriented disaster relief organization that deals specifically with refugees. And one example of that would be a group called Techfugees, and that's their, if you're looking at the directory, you can see the information that I've just had to scrape from the website, but eventually I imagine that this directory could be automatically populated. Not quite sure how yet, but that's the vision, and I hope that covers mostly what I'm trying to do. And I guess lastly, just using this disaster relief model or paradigm to be able to identify, locate, and list basically needs, whether they're the coders or people that need to come into this sphere, or the organizations themselves listing their needs. Like, I think it was Josh was talking about identifying, like programming languages that you're experienced in, and being able to plug into organizations like that. That kind of idea that would better match the resources that exist in the world with the organizations and projects that need them. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm passing it on to let's see. I hope I'm not butchering this. Laksh Bhasin.
Yeah. Oh, can everyone see me and hear me? Okay, I'm assuming it's a yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Laksh. I'm one of the developers who worked on the Bernie PB project, which is now called Grassroots PB. So if you don't remember Bernie PB, it was a website that focused on gamifying phone banking for Bernie Sanders for all of the primaries and caucuses almost all of the primaries and caucuses that happened. And we had almost 16,000 users sign up, and they made 2.3 million calls just through our website, just a small fraction of all the calls that were made. And it had like a live call map on the front page, and like all these kinds of features that were intended to encourage calling for Bernie Sanders. So we've transitioned a lot of that to our new website, which is called grassrootspb.com. And again, the goal is very similar. We want to create a community experience around phone banking for progressive candidates. We want people to be encouraged about, calling through ranks, achievements, and stuff like that. And we want them to also, like when you're phone banking, there's a lot of slack time between calls, and like we put that live call map on our front page partly to keep people like interested while they're still making calls. And of course, our biggest goal is to get people elected by directing the energy of the entire Bernie call team, which is really a very like motivated and enthusiastic group of people towards the campaigns of down ballot progressive candidates. So that's the difference between Bernie PB and grassroots PB, is that we support people running for House of Representatives, Senate, and like potentially more state offices if they can give us the calling ability. So our stack, just to give a description, is we use Heroku and AWS for our services. We use Django for our API and web serving, Go Django. We use Postgres for our database. Our front end is fairly simple. I think that's one thing I'd like for us to work on more is it basically uses jQuery and Django templates and CSS. And we have a Celery worker separately that handles all the asynchronous tasks, which is how we were able to handle like, I think at our peak, we had like thousands of requests per minute being made by all the people calling, and we were still able to stay up at a fairly low cost. The key behind all of the website is there's an extension that conveys basic info about the call and the candidates to the server, and that's how we basically make it all work. And so we don't actually write the calling software. We just plug into like Livebox or what other candidates are using. We have a lot of features that are planned. We had a call recently where we talked about all the things we'd like to see in some kind of gamification platform like this. One thing was putting callers into leagues so that we encourage them to call at like different tiers. So there's like a lower league for people who are starting off, and you can get promoted into leagues. So you're not competing with everyone, which is the current case. You're just competing within your league mostly. We have a search feature that we've been waiting to implement for a while. I think Sean, who's one of our developers, and he's watching this right now, is working on team achievements. We wanted to get team alliances working because currently the team setup is very minimal. We want to overhaul our front page so that we can fit many candidates, especially with brand new Congress coming up. We want to be able to show something for that presentably. We want to make an easy way to contact all of our users and get them to come back. All kinds of things that we want to that we have plans for and we haven't gotten around to yet. Also, other things that we're planning on doing site-wise, testing and monitoring tools. If you're familiar with that and with getting that to work in Django, or if that's your line of expertise, that would be great, because we had an outage yesterday and it took a while to figure out what the cause was, and it would be nice if we had things that were just monitoring all the parts, like from the extension to the our asynchronous stuff, our web server, stuff like that. One thing we really need as well, as I mentioned earlier, is a front-end overhaul. We're not like front-end developers really. Sean is actually was a science grad student. I'm a back-end developer at Pinterest, so like we don't really know that much about front-end. But if you know anything about React, that's one thing we're thinking of moving towards. That would be great. We also have a longer-term goal. So I mentioned all the gamification aspects, but in addition to that, and this is something that brand new Congress was also planning on doing, is having an auto dialer, that other candidates can plug into, instead of them providing them signing on to a third-party service, and then we provide the extension to connect them in. So that would be a great thing to work on, but it's an extremely long-term goal because we have more immediate gamification changes to make. So yeah, we really would appreciate anyone who's, you don't even have to know Django, you can learn it on the go. A lot of us didn't know it in the beginning. And we're open to all kinds of people joining, as long as you have reasonably good coding practices and you want to think about making things that scale and are like intuitive and user-friendly, because we do a lot of our design ourselves, and it's including designing the game itself, designing the art. Although we found designers to help with that lately, but like the front page design, the web design is basically all us. So if you can help with any of that, any part of the stack, we have a grassroots PB channel. It's on a different Slack than ProgCode, but I am Laksh Bhasin, on the ProgCode Slack, and you can just message me and I'll add you to the other Slack. And now I'm going to hand it over to Saikat, who will be talking about brand new Congress.
Hello, everyone. My name is Saikat, and I'm also working on the Bernie Sanders campaign with Jon and Rapi and a lot of you guys. And the thing I'm working on right now is brand new Congress. We're basically we're aiming to try to replace Congress with a bunch of progressives in 2018. And if you want to learn more about brand new Congress, you should actually come to one of our orientation calls, and we kind of go into details about how we're planning to do that. But on the tech front, there's obviously like a ton of stuff that we're gonna need to do. I mean, we're still trying to kind of figure out which of these things we want to build and which of these things hopefully we can use of the tools that are going to be coming out of progressive coders and all these other groups. But there is one specific big project that's sort of looming on the horizon for us, which I really need some volunteer coders for, and that's basically we want to create our sort of volunteer portal for brand new Congress engagement. And the idea here is basically to have a place where you can show up, see the stuff see all the instructions you can get for how to get involved and start doing work, and also see how well you're doing. So all the tracking stuff, we kind of have this idea of trying to build up a list of supporters in every single congressional district to try to hit a specific voter turnout number by 2018, when you need to actually mobilize people to go vote. And there's pretty good data out there about how high that number would need to be to win a congressional primary in 2018. So what we want to do is basically structure like a portal around that win number, set up ways to track who's getting the supporters, essentially doing both voter ID, going and tabling and collecting names that aren't just off the voter file, and trying to create sort of this, trying to basically create a thing where brand new Congress can offer all of its tools to anyone who wants to get involved, but then also allow people to come up with their own ways to do voter contact and persuasion and all that stuff, and basically give us the data back. So that's sort of a vague description. If you guys are interested in wanting to work on that, I've started an issue. Basically, to get involved in brand new Congress in general on the tech side, if you go to our GitHub, it's at github.com/brandnewcongress/welcome. There's sort of instructions on how to just jump in and start fixing smaller issues here and there on the website, and on the other projects we already have going. But if you want to get involved on this specific project, just ping me on Slack. I'm in the Progressive Coder Slack, and I kind of want to try to get a team going to sort of spec this out and build it out, and it would be great. It'll basically be like an open source campaign where all the resources are available to anyone who wants to get involved, and the grassroots are able to actually submit back all the work that they're doing in a very easy way. So that's the idea, and I'm going to hand it off next to Virginia.
Sorry, I'm here representing Politics Reborn. We are focusing much more at the local level. So the most basic local aspects. For some organization or areas, it'll be the school board. Here in New York, where we are starting, it is the county committees. And they are the entry-level political races where you're talking about people just need to be 18 years old and willing to run. They are the types of roles that oftentimes people have the least information or knowledge about. And part of what we are doing is definitely developing that group or utilizing the existing groups of local activists to bring forth some of the knowledge that doesn't get talked about when you're talking on the federal level or nationally. Even here in New York City, where we are located, the way that county committee is done in Queens, the borough of Queens, is different than the way it's done in Manhattan, than the way it's done in Staten Island. And that differs from what's happening out on Long Island, which is just a few miles away from parts of Queens. So looking at bringing together that local knowledge that isn't easy for somebody just to go online and look for it. And what we're doing with Progressive Coders, and part of why I was so happy that Rapi had been part of the activists here in Queens, is in the same way that other organizations are looking for how do we pull volunteers in and give them an opportunity to sign up for actual roles and to see the progress that they're making. We also have the aspect of actually being able to have a repository for some of the information that we're finding and putting it out in ways that other people are able to access it. And I'm just going to use one example. Which is here in New York, and we're working on changing this, in order to change parties, New York is one of the most closed primaries parties, the areas in the country. You have to do it 1 year and 30 days prior to the general election. So there were a number of people that I ran into that literally as I was petitioning and doing voter registration on the street who were angry that February they couldn't change from being a no-party preference or an independent or even a Republican to a Democrat to vote for Bernie in New York because the deadline was October 9th. And that's the kind of information that people are like, I didn't know. And so it's making that information, that local level information available. So I know it's pretty broad, but I think it actually works well with a lot of the things that have been talked about today in terms of making sure that we have all over the country and all over in various regions, we have actual local activists that are involved in the projects and that we have information that's coming from the most basic levels because the way we are structured is building up from the ground up is the way that we're really going to be able to hold on to build and hold on to actual political change and power, essentially, in terms of the way that things are currently structured. The other aspect of all of this is being one of those organizations that wants to work with the coders in terms of what is it we're asking for and how are we able to use it, like actually being that first group that tests out, hey, this has been developed, here's how we're finding that we're able to use it, and here's what we still need. Trying to keep it as quick and short as possible, but happy to answer more questions and get into more detail on Slack. Thank you. Pass it, and I am passing it to Hector, who will be talking about it from the campaign perspective.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Cool. My name's
Still on mute.
Hector, you're still on mute.
You can't.
good.
Yes.
There.
Is that better? Okay. My name's Hector. I'm from the Bernie campaign. I'm his digital media director, and will be his digital media director going into the next org, which is Our Revolution. The good thing about my project is that Bernie's been pitching it for the past 15 months. So it's just basically a continuation of the political revolution in any way that he said. You know, it's the whole thing hasn't been about Bernie. It really has been about, you know, everyone else and just the way that people have been participating in politics and the folks that we've that have been inspired to go out and run for office. So it'll be three-pronged. Most of you guys have heard this stuff. All of you guys, I think, have seen you guys around, you know, Coders for Sanders or other Slacks, and know that you guys talk to our staff. One, it's going to be changing just the way politics works, whether it's an issue-based thing, whether we're going to run a campaign on, you know, TPP, or to end superdelegates, or to really get money out of politics. Number two, electing down ballot, you know, progressives starting this year. You know, I think starting as soon as next month, Bernie will endorse a few more candidates, and we'll be working really hard to get those folks elected and into office, get some progressive voices. You know, everywhere from the U.S. Senate, U.S. House, different state level legislators, possibly a couple of governors, you know, everything, city councils, school boards. We had a ton of folks that, you know, really took to Bernie's call to action to sign up to run for office, and we're going through the process of going through those folks and others to
endorse some folks and really lend whatever tools we have on the campaign to help get them elected. And the third prong is just elevating political consciousness, altogether. So educating folks. So one of the things that we could do with, the big digital operation and the big organizing operation that we were able to build up and really learn and hone in, best techniques on the campaign was just being able to reach hundreds of thousands, if not hundreds of millions of folks per week or per month. So we'll kind of be a counter to the corporate media that didn't treat our campaign so well, and really just present issues that this campaign has brought forth and things that as they come forward. So we don't really have any big projects right now. We're in the phases of starting off the organization and planning that out and rolling it out soon. The campaign's going to be ending soon in a few days here with the convention. I know a few of you guys are delegates, and thank you very much. We'll be calling on you guys to kind of lead these projects in state. But the good thing is that most of you guys are from Coders for Sanders, and I'm really glad that you guys are taking this initiative to put this forward past the campaign and into just continuing forward. So thanks, Rapi, for organizing this, and thanks everyone else here. Most of you guys are familiar faces. You guys have worked with us in the past, and I hope that we continue to work together in the future. So I'm Hector on Slack. So reach out to me if you have any questions or want to work together on anything. So passing it off to back to Rapi.
This has been. Thank you so much for the patience. And it's our first time presenting, and so there's definitely going to be hiccups. But thank you so much for your patience. And so just a couple of things for housekeeping. First, I've started opening up the community vote channel. So we will be presenting a lot of issues that people can vote on about the community. So the first issue right now is if we are going to open up a vote for jobs channel. So one of the things that we are thinking about is setting up a way for people to look for gigs or openings for different progressive organizations, so that we could start creating relationships with other progressive organizations. So as you can see from here on out, that we are trying to create a constellation or a network of various organizations around us. And we want to service them, we want to help them out. Next is, so please go to community-vote. Sorry. Okay, I think. So, can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. So, so please go to community vote channel and vote for those referendums. And the next one we will be doing is to vote on a logo. Next up, there are a lot of different hackathons or pair programming that is happening, and I would like you guys to check out. If you're in LA, please go to Kit. At Kit, he's leading up this awesome pair programming for civic tech in LA. So it's I'll let him talk about it more. And also, if you're from Chicago, Ben is whose username is Ben Gal. He has this awesome work group for civic tech in Chicago. It's a really great model for Hack Night. So I would encourage you to check out chihacknight.com or .org. It's a really great program, and it's a model for all the Hack Nights or civic tech around the country. So I encourage you to check it out. So of course we will be improving on this. This is our first time, but already there are new projects being created by our community, which is really awesome. I'm hearing a lot about the portal with Jon, the National Voter File with Ben, and there's a Numa TV by Alex, and they will be. I hope we could set up a time in 2 weeks. I think we will be trying to set up another meeting, which will discuss these projects in a better video format rather than Google Hangouts, hopefully. But thank you so much for the patience, and I hope that this is a very fruitful thing for you. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.